My name is Marcus Fernandez and welcome to another session on homeopathy. And today we're going to be talking about food poisoning, the top 6 homeopathic remedies that you should know, you should have at home in order to give yourself, your friends, your family, in case you have food poisoning. Okay, and we're going to be talking about food poisoning and vomiting, diarrhea, all the things associated with food poisoning. Please put in the chat, again, where you're listening from, where you are. Now, we have some familiar faces from different parts of the world, from the UK and around the world. But also, just share with me if you've ever used homeopathy. Put it in the chat if you've ever used homeopathy for food poisoning. Because it's such a great remedy if you have used it, or if you use these remedies, because it can be so effective and give you relief. We got a thumbs up there. Hey, Gunnar, good to see you. Good to see you as well. So yeah, just share some of your experiences if you've ever used it, because it helps other people learn as well. And also helps us feel that there's a community, that we're coming on live for these sessions and there's a community. So, okay, let's get into it. Today, food poisoning, the top 6 homeopathic remedies that you should know. So these remedies you can have at home. These may be in your homeopathic first aid kit you may have, or remedy kit. So useful to have. So what is food poisoning? So food poisoning is rarely serious and actually gets better within a week. And the symptoms can include feeling sick, nausea, diarrhea, being sick, actually vomiting, stomach cramps, sometimes a bit of a high temperature, and feeling generally unwell. Feeling tired, lethargic, can feel a bit achy, a bit chilly. You just feel that something's wrong and you feel under the weather. And then often the symptoms will start, either a few hours or a few days after eating the food that's caused the problem, okay? And often it's over a few hours or not. Sometimes it won't be weeks after. It'll be often, unless it's something more serious, often it's in pretty much the sort of same day, same 24 hours or a few hours after eating. And these symptoms usually pass completely after a week. And and after the body's got rid of whatever it is in the system. And the most important thing to do if you are vomiting and got especially diarrhea is to drink plenty of fluids, and such as water. You can take rehydration salts if there's been a lot of vomiting or diarrhea to avoid dehydration. Okay, so it's really important that you replenish those salts, and because often they can cause a lot of problems if you don't replenish those salts. And I've seen it with clients and with patients that they've never been well since. Being dehydrated, not just from diarrhea and vomiting, but also from excessive perspiration and sweating, where they just don't feel better. And this is when you have to definitely replenish those salts that we've lost during either diarrhea, vomiting, or perspiration. So how do you get food poisoning? Well, it's caused by eating something that's been contaminated. That can be water, it can be food. And any type of food can actually cause food poisoning. So fruit can cause it, vegetables, as well as meat, fish, shellfish, very common one. Excuse me. And this can happen if food is not cooked properly or not reheated thoroughly. And if it's not stored correctly as well. For example, it's not being frozen, it's not being chilled, and it's been left out for too long. Or it's been handled by somebody who's ill, has not washed their hands, or it's eaten after the use-by date. Quite a while after the use-by date. And as we said, any food can cause food poisoning. And you can get this as well when you're abroad, if you're traveling, as well as going to your local restaurant to eat, or take away food. So just for everybody, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's all the videos that I've done are all on the YouTube channel. Please do subscribe. And if you want further information about CHE, the Centre for Homeopathic Education, please go to our website. We do a lot of courses from beginner's course all the way to practitioner level and beyond. We also do postgraduate, and we're recruiting now. This is our September intake for our 2-year fast track or 4-year part-time course. So for more information, go to the website, but please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. So let's look at some homeopathic remedies, the top 6 homeopathic remedies, which I think you should know about. Now, this is not all the remedies that are good for food poisoning. There's many remedies that are good for food poisoning, many remedies for diarrhea. I'm just going to try and give the top 6 that I think you should know about. Number one remedy for food poisoning arsenicum, arsenicum album. So this is often from food poisoning from bad meat, shellfish, or after watery fruits, for example, melon or vegetables. Or it can be from contaminated, dirty water. Or anything where there's ice. You know, you're not supposed to put, especially when you go abroad, use ice in your drinks. Or often they say don't use salad in case it's washed with contaminated water. Also good for ice cream. If people have an ice cream on a hot day, so they're being heated and then they get chilled. Often they'll get diarrhea with nausea and vomiting and frequent loose and offensive watery stools. Okay? Offensive watery stools, and get severe cramping in the abdomen and pain in the abdomen, and also burning pains. They can feel burning in the abdomen or the stomach, but also on passing stools. So the diarrhea, that the anus can burn really, really hot. Be very restless. Remember, these are keynotes. Restlessness with arsenicum. And if you watch any previous videos, you'll see the big keynotes of arsenicum is restlessness. They change places constantly. They sit down, then they stand up, then they lie down, then they move around. They can't seem to get any relief, but they're exhausted. That's the big thing with, again, keynote with arsenicum. They are exhausted and they want to lie down, but they're too restless, they get back up again. Okay, so the marked weakness and exhaustion, big two major keynotes with arsenicum, and extremely chilly. They are very, very, very chilly. Also with the restlessness is anxiety. Another big keynote for arsenicum. Very anxious. They feel that they're seriously ill and despair and that they'll never recover. I remember getting food poisoning when I was traveling in India, and I said to my wife, that's it, I'm dying, I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm going, this is the end. You really get into that state where you don't feel that you're ever going to get better. It's like all the vitality is draining out of you. So they need company, they want people to be around, but they're not reassured by it because they're so anxious, but they want you to be around. They don't want you to leave them. The symptoms can get worse around midnight, before or after. So I'd say around 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Around that time that things can start. So this is when the diarrhea could start, okay, or the nausea, start feeling nauseous, because the keynotes for arsenicum is around midnight. And the worse for cold, better for warm applications. Even though they have burning pains, maybe in the tummy, they want like a hot water bottle on there. And they're thirsty for small sips. And with the diarrhea and the food poisoning, often desires for sips of warm drinks. They feel better for that. And they can't bear the thought or smell of food. Can't bear it. Makes them feel terrible. So arsenicum is going to be the number one remedy for food poisoning, especially if you've got those characteristic symptoms, which again are very common with food poisoning. Next remedy is Carbo Veg. So this is food poisoning from fish, again, ice water. Often it's chilled, but it's the contamination maybe of the water, and vegetables. Vegetables that are maybe a bit old. And they'll get severe diarrhea with extreme weakness, but in a collapsed state. They're just in a collapsed state. So a little bit like arsenicum when they feel weak, but this is more of a collapsed state. They're listless and they're indifferent. Listless and indifferent. Apathy. They're inert. Where arsenicum is anxious, completely different. Listless and indifferent. It's like they call Carbo Veg the corpse reviver. Okay? That's how inert they can be. Now the thing with Carbo Veg is that they have bloating in the stomach. Bloating in the stomach and the abdomen, which is better for belching. So they're better if they burp and release the gas. And they might also have flatulence, coming from the other end. And that can be extreme. They've got a lot of wind, a smelly wind, but the wind can also feel trapped inside and cause a bit of discomfort. And with their diarrhea, very foul smelling. It smells like they call it a cadaverous odor, like rotting flesh, rotten meat. Really offensive. And they can have cramping in the tummy, like the lady's holding the tummy here, better for bending double. So the cramping can be better if they bend double. Feeling icy cold. Now, This is a really big keynote of Carbo Veg. They'll be feeling cold, especially their hands and their feet. So you'll feel the hands and they'll be absolutely icy. The body could be warm, but the hands and feet are icy cold. It's like all the vitality is like coming away from their extremities into their core. They desire open air and they want to be fanned. They want like movement of air around them because they feel breathless. Okay, that's like they can't get enough oxygen in. It's a big keynote for Carbo Veg. Chilly, but wants cold drinks. Okay, different from arsenicum. Chilly, but wants cold drinks and wants open air. They need that movement of air. Again, a window open, or a fan near them where they can get the movement of the air. Worse, hot, stuffy rooms. Worse, covering. They don't want to be covered. Even though they're cold, they don't want to have any covers on them. Worse, lying down. Worse for fats. Okay, worse for fats. Better for belching. So they better if they can release wind in burps, or if they pass wind flatulence, they feel better for it, and better for sitting up in themselves. Carbo Veg, brilliant remedy, great remedy. Next remedy is China. So this is food poisoning from fish, meat, milk, fruit, and again in pure water, where it's been tainted in some way. And they have profuse, painless diarrhea, but with dehydration and weakness. This is often given for people with travelers' diarrhea when people travel around different countries. But dehydration and weakness because of the dehydration is a big keynote for China. Again, like Carbo Veg, they'll be bloated and distended with gas, but this is the difference. There's no relief. Even if they bring up the gas, there's no relief. They don't feel any better. It's like this fermentation constantly going on within China, especially after fruit as well. There's like this fermentation process going on. They can have indigestion with sourness coming into their mouth, or regurgitation of food in their mouth. Or if they regurgitate, if they vomit, it'll be like food, like not quite digested. There's a cold feeling in the stomach, and they feel full even after a small amount of food, something very small. They just feel full. And food will often taste bitter. Even water, they'll drink some water, that tastes bitter. Okay, there's a bitterness there. Very irritable, okay? Very, very irritable. It's almost irritable like Nux vomica. When we've done Nux vomica in other videos, very irritable like Nux vomica, and have a lot of mental symptoms like Nux vomica, where they're oversensitive to noise, oversensitive and touchy to anything that you say to them. So you're trying to look after them and say, "Here's, I don't want any of that. I don't want this. Keep it." They also want to be alone. They don't. People annoy them. You can't do anything for them. They just get really annoyed, very touchy. You might say the slightest thing, and they get oversensitive and overreact. Worse for touch, worse for light pressure, and worse at night. But they're better for warmth because they're very chilly. Better hard pressure, so the tummy, the pains, and my cramps. Worse for light, but if they press hard, it's a lot better. They may even lie on that side. Better for open air, better for loose clothes because they feel so bloated. But this is a remedy for what we call in homeopathy loss of vital fluids. It's the diarrhea or the vomiting. They're exhausted from it. They've lost these vital fluids and become dehydrated. So it can look like arsenicum. So if you think of arsenicum, but with bloating, have all the symptoms of arsenicum, but with bloating, often that will be China. If it's just diarrhea and they don't have the bloating or the gas, then it's probably just arsenicum. Okay? But you may get confused with the mental symptoms, or they're very irritable over touch. You think it's Nux vomica. It's often China. Okay? Often China. So again, a good differentiation there between those remedies. Next remedy is Epicat. This is a remedy. Actually, the full name of Epicat means the weed on the side of the road that makes you vomit. Nux vomica is the nut that makes you vomit. Epicat is the weed that grows on the side of the road that makes you vomit. And this is food poisoning with persistent nausea and vomiting without relief. They do not feel better for vomiting. The nausea doesn't feel better from vomiting. they don't feel better from vomiting, because some remedies feel better. Once they've vomited, they feel better, they feel there's a relief. With Epicat, they just still feel sick and nauseous and feel really, really ill. And they have a real loathing, the sight or even the smell of any food. And one of the strange, rare, peculiar symptoms of Epicat is they have profuse saliva with nausea. So they have excess saliva in the mouth, almost like spitting it out. This is a keynote of Epicat. And with diarrhea, with this food poisoning, they can have, again, another strange, rare, peculiar symptom where they have a hot head, but the legs feel cold. And we have with China that they got cold hands and feet. With Epicat, they have a hot head, but they complain about cold legs. And the stools, if they go to the toilet with the diarrhea, very offensive, and it looks like frothy molasses. You know molasses? You can get it from the health food store, blackstrap molasses. It looks like frothy molasses, but very, very putrid, very offensive. Can have severe cramp and colic with the diarrhea, okay, which they feel better for rest, better for closing their eyes, better again for open air. So open air is a very common thing with all these remedies, but they feel better for closing their eyes. But that's not closing their eyes and lying down, because they're worse lying down. They're better sitting up. But and also worse for warmth, worse for ice cream, worse from pork, so they could have had food poisoning from these things. And also they're worse for cold drinks. They feel worse. In fact, the pain in the abdomen, the cramping can be worse from cold drinks. Okay, so that's Epicat. We've covered Epicat before when we did morning sickness on one of the videos. Check him out on the YouTube channel, where Epicat is a big vomiting nausea remedy. Next remedy, Nux vomica. So here they have cramping and painful diarrhea. They feel better for passing a stool, but only for a short period of time. Okay, there'll be a relief, but they'll have this frequent urge to go. They keep running back to the toilet. And this is worse for any form of indulgence, so rich food or alcohol. So this is probably, we're talking about food poisoning, this is probably alcohol poisoning as well. Diarrhea from rich food, alcohol, you can get it from antibiotics, overuse of laxatives. And often this gas and distension are worse for the pressure of clothes. So they often will undo their clothes around their tummy because of the gas and distension. They can have griping pains, which are better for passing stool. And diarrhea with constant uneasiness, like they haven't finished. They still feel there's got more to come out. And they stay on the toilet because they feel if they come off, they're going to go again. So they end up staying on there because they don't want to be incontinent with their stools, but it feels like that. There's weakness there. Again, grumpy, irritable, easily angered, the typical Nux vomica picture, and very oversensitive to everything, feels worse from noise, smells, and touch. You want to be out of the way of a Nux vomica when they're ill. They can have this they're hypochondriacs. They think there's something else wrong with them, with this food poisoning and this diarrhea, with great fear. And they worry at the slightest problem they get health-wise. Okay, they'll be on the internet trying to work it out, or in the book trying to figure out what it is. They can get really like a hypochondriac. They worry a lot about their health. Chilly, very chilly Nux vomica, better for heat and better for warmth on the abdomen. Okay, now this is one of the biggest remedies for alcohol. When people have had too much alcohol, we've talked about this before. Big remedy for that, and but also for like overeating, overindulgence, too much rich food. But it's just a good remedy for, again, when people are feeling ill from food poisoning and they want to get it, and it needs to come out of their system. Last remedy, number 6, Pulsatilla. Ailments after eating pork, creamy food, pastries, ice cream, and eggs. Never been well since, or they eat that, and then a few hours later they feel ill. They'll get watery diarrhea, which is worse at twilight. At twilight, the diarrhea will come on and continues into the night. So again, there's different time modalities when these things will happen. When we talked about arsenicum, worse before around midnight, 10 p.m. or to 2 a.m. With Pulsatilla, they're always worse around twilight, and then it goes into the night. The sensation that digestion is all disordered, not right. They also can get, by the way, diarrhea from a fright. If they get scared, and go straight to their tummy. They can have a sensation as if there's a stone in the stomach. Don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I have. I remember it's like a heaviness. It's like this undigested food is sitting in my stomach and it won't move. It feels heavy and it won't move. And then you take the remedy. And this is what often happens with the remedies. You take the remedies and then you vomit. It all comes out if it needs to, or it comes out the other end. The body has an amazing way of just doing what it needs to do to get it out of the system. Remember with Pulsatilla, they're thirstless. There's no thirst. Often can be quite shy, timid, emotional. Often in a Pulsatilla state, they will be emotional. They'll be very tearful. They want to be looked after. They crave company, typical Pulsatilla picture. Even if they're not normally like this, they can go into this state. Okay, they want you to be around. They want to be looked after. It's like, please help me. And you're gonna feel like you want to help them. So they can be chilly when they're unwell, but they feel better for open air. So they can be a bit chilly, but they need the open air. Okay, they need that window open. But like Carbo Veg, they need to be fanned. They need open air, movement of air. So they'll go outside or hang out of a window just to get that air. It's like air hunger. Okay, air hunger. So great remedy to know. So there are the top 6 remedies I think you need to know. There is other remedies, okay, but they're the top 6 that I want to share with you as home prescribers. And again, as I always say, use the 6C or 30C. Why? Because you can get them in the over-the-counter at health food stores, or they're in remedy kits. And take 1 dose at a 15-minute interval, again, little guidelines, for 3 or 4 doses or until the symptoms improve. Remember, the most important thing is that you're observing the person you're giving it to, say it's a family member or yourself, how they feel after that first dose, and you're going with their vital force. If they feel better, then you can stop the remedy. Sometimes, as I said, you give the remedy and often they can run and vomit if that's what the body needs to do. So remember, the remedies are like keys to a lock. They stimulate the body to heal itself. The body knows what to do. When the remedy will stimulate the vital force, we call it in homeopathy vital force, or prana in Ayurveda, or chi in Chinese medicine, and it will do what it needs to do. So if it needs to get it out of the system, it will vomit. If it needs to have diarrhea, it will have diarrhea, okay? But if in looking for the keynotes of these remedies, don't go into analysis paralysis. Often your remedy will be in one of those 6 remedies I've just covered, the most common remedies you can give. And if symptoms persist, seek a qualified practitioner, because what you're going to be careful of is dehydration. If there's things like blood in the stool, you need to go and get more qualified advice, medical advice, okay? So make sure that you stay rehydrated, as we said. Another good little tip to use as well is things like ginger tea. You can make ginger tea, get some ginger root, which you can find all over the world. I prefer to use the root rather than just the powder. So it's fresh, cut it, put a few pieces in some boiling water, boil it and let it simmer, and then drink the tea. And you'll find, I prefer to do that than just putting a few slices in some hot water. I like to simmer it. For me, it's stronger, and it soothes everything from mouth all the way down your digestive tract. Really important. And if you've had things like diarrhea and vomiting, it's always good to take a good probiotic as well, or you can take yogurt and things like that just to help with the natural gut flora that often gets affected when you have that and persistent diarrhea and vomiting. So that's the end of today's live session on food poisoning. As I said, check us out on the website or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and where you see all the other videos there. Thank you.